At the current rate, by the end of the season, 177 penalties will have been awarded.
I'm going more.
That's 71 more than the previous record for a Premier League season. It's an insane stat. Just think about this for a second. So the previous record, 106, I think that happened twice. Everything else was beneath that. There's been seasons where we've had 90-something penalties, and sometimes it breaks 100, sometimes it doesn't. This season, when the previous best was 106, it's going to be 177 if things carry on as they are. It's mad, isn't it?
Well, remember when I joked, at the end of last season, I remember saying this on this station, that Manchester United last year had 22 penalties. If Bruno Fernandes, who came to the club halfway through it, so he only took half the penalties, I think it was Rashford before that, Pogba might have took a couple as well. But if he would have been on penalties last season, before scoring a goal in open play, or from a free kick, and he scored every penalty, it would have banged in 22 goals. 22 goals. He would have won the Golden Boot with a couple of outfield goals alongside it. And half his goals since he's been at Manchester United have been penalties. And I'm going to say, and it'll upset a few, but when it comes down to it, should your Golden Boot winner, should penalties be included? Oh. It's just a question, because is it kind of unfair? Because at some clubs, if you join and you're a striker and you're not the penalty taker, you're not going to be on them. And somebody else is going to take the penalties, right? So, like at Manchester United, Rashford, he must be absolutely fuming he's not on penalties. Because he's pretty good at them, right? And he put the ball in the back of the net before Fernandes come. Fernandes has come and taken all the penalties except for the odd one, which he's let Rashford take, or Fernandes has not been on the pitch. So you look at it now, you've got Calvert-Lewin on 11, you've got Son on 10. They don't take penalties.
Right.
Then you've got Vardy, penalties, Salah, penalties, Kane, that's if Milner's not on the pitch. Kane, penalties, Fernandes, penalties, Wilson, penalties, Ings, penalties. All them guys are going to be the ones who are going to win the Golden Boot. And it's down to penalties is a massive part of it. And that's why they want to stay on them. Look at Aguero. He missed quite a few, but he was still on penalties. It's part of they want to take the penalties because they know scoring the goals, the only chance they got of winning these awards is by taking penalties these days.
In this, normally I would say you're being a bit harsh, but because this season there's so many, I'm kind of thinking you've got a really great point that it will be unfair to give it to a penalty taker. Right, so the fact that there's going to be 70-plus more penalties this season surely tells us there's something wrong with VAR. When you look at the Southampton penalty the other night, I think it was given as a free kick, then VAR gave it as a penalty. I don't think it was, even if it's a yes-no, whether it's on the line or over the line, I don't even think that was clear, whether the foul went into the penalty or whatever it might have been. I just think it was so unclear, and yet in-game, a referee was always more reluctant to give a penalty or kind of err on the side of a free kick rather than a penalty.
Well, one thing people have said, I don't know what you think of it, but they say because there's been no fans in the ground, the away teams are getting more penalties. I don't know what the stats are on that, but away teams are getting more penalties. Purely because if you do go to Old Trafford, and they get a lot of penalties anyway because they've got good players, so they're going to get a lot of penalties. But if you go to Old Trafford and the home crowd, it's got to have some kind of influence do you know what I mean, on the referees? Just the noise, the atmosphere and everything else, right? But they're saying this year, somebody said it is, but when the away teams go now, there's no home support. So it's slightly different.
Some good points being made already, and we need yours as well. 08717 223344. At the current rate, by the end of this season, there will have been 177 penalties. That's a new record. That's 71 more than the previous record. It kind of tells me clearly something is going very, very wrong. What is it? And can we really give, if it's a penalty taker who wins the Golden Boot, do they really deserve it because VAR is making a mess of things?
Especially when the score, you could say, the way it's going now, and the penalties scored, Leicester this season have had 8 penalties. 8 penalties. Fulham have had 5. I think they've missed 4 of them. But Man United are up there. There was our 4.
Of course.
But it's a difficult one, isn't it? And do you know what I mean by that, though? Because there's some strikers out there who are not on penalties. They're not on penalties. Calvert-Lewin will be saying, let me get on penalties. Let me get on penalties. Let me get on penalties. But there's a few before him. He's going to have to wait his turn.
Well, he's the master of the one-touch finish.
It could cost him the Golden Boot purely because he's not on penalties.
It's a great.
Even Son.
Hope he's listening.